Hello, this is the Paradise Unicorn Priestess. We're doing day 14 with A Course in Miracles, the Yin translation, where we use female words. If you're starting at the new year, this would be January 14th. And our text for today is called Fear and Conflict. Being afraid seems to be involuntary, something beyond your own control. Yet I have said already that only constructive acts should be involuntary. My control can take over everything that does not matter, while my guidance can direct everything that does, if you so choose. Fear cannot be controlled by me, but it can be self-controlled. Fear prevents me from giving you my control. The presence of fear shows that you have raised body thoughts to the level of the mind. This removes them from my control and makes you feel personally responsible for them. This is an obvious confusion of levels. I do not foster level confusion, but you must choose to correct it. You would not excuse insane behavior on your part by saying you could not help it. Why should you condone insane thinking? There is confusion here that you would do well to look at clearly. You may believe that you are responsible for what you do, but not for what you think. The truth is, you are responsible for what you think, because it is only at this level that you can exercise choice. What you do comes from what you think. You cannot separate yourself from the truth by giving autonomy to behavior. This is controlled by me automatically as soon as you place what you think under my guidance. Whenever you are afraid, it is a sure sign that you have allowed your mind to miscreate and have not allowed me to guide it. It is pointless to believe that controlling the outcome of misthought can result in healing. When you are fearful, you have chosen wrongly. That is why you feel responsible for it. You must change your mind, not your behavior. And this is a matter of willingness. You do not need guidance except at the mind level. Correction belongs only at the level where change is possible. Change does not mean anything at the symptom level where it cannot work. The correction of fear is your responsibility. When you ask for a release from fear, you are implying that it is not. You should ask, instead, for help in the conditions that have brought the fear about. These conditions always entail a willingness to be separate. At that level, you can help it. You are much too tolerant of mind wandering and are passively condoning your mind's miscreations. The particular result does not matter, but the fundamental error does. The correction is always the same. Before you choose to do anything, ask me if your choice is in accord with mine. If you are sure that it is, there will be no fear. Fear is always a sign of strain, arising whenever what you want conflicts with what you do. This situation arises in two ways. First, you can choose to do conflicting things, either simultaneously or successively. This produces conflicted behavior, which is intolerable to you because the part of the mind that wants to do something else is outraged. Second, you can behave as you think you should, but without entirely wanting to do so. This produces consistent behavior, but entails great strain. In both cases, the mind and the behavior are out of accord, resulting in a situation in which you are doing what you do not wholly want to do. This arouses a sense of coercion that usually produces rage, and projection is likely to follow. Whenever there is fear, it is because you have not made up your mind. Your mind is therefore split, and your behavior inevitably becomes erratic. Correcting at the behavioral level can shift the error from the first to the second type, but will not obliterate the fear. It is possible to reach a state in which you bring your mind under my guidance without conscious effort, but this implies a willingness that you have not developed as yet. The Holy Spirit cannot ask more than you are willing to do. The strength to do comes from your undivided decision. There is no strain in doing God's will as soon as you recognize that it is also your own. The lesson here is quite simple, but particularly apt to be overlooked. I will therefore repeat it, urging you to listen. Only your mind can produce fear. It does so whenever it is conflicted in what it wants, producing inevitable strain, because wanting and doing are discordant. This can be corrected only by accepting a unified goal. The first corrective step in undoing error is to know first that the conflict is an expression of fear. Say to yourself that you must somehow have chosen not to love, or the fear could not have arisen. Then the whole process of correction becomes nothing more than a series of pragmatic steps in the larger process of accepting the atonement as a remedy. These steps may be surmised in this way. 1. Know first that this is fear. 2. Fear arises from lack of love. 3. The only remedy for lack of love is perfect love. 4. Perfect love is the atonement. I have emphasized that the miracle, or the expression of atonement, is always a sign of respect from the worthy to the worthy. The recognition of this worth is reestablished by the atonement. It is obvious, then, that when you are afraid, you have placed yourself in a position where you need atonement. You have done something loveless, having chosen without love. This is precisely the situation for which the atonement was offered. The need for the remedy inspired its establishment. As long as you recognize only the need for the remedy, you will remain fearful. However, as soon as you accept the remedy, you have abolished the fear. This is how true healing occurs. Everyone experiences fear, yet it would take very little right thinking to realize why fear occurs. Few appreciate the real power of the mind, and no one remains fully aware of it all the time. However, if you hope to spare yourself from fear, there are some things you must realize, and realize fully. The mind is very powerful and never loses its creative force. It never sleeps. Every instant it is creating. It is hard to recognize that thought and belief combine into a power surge that can literally move mountains. It appears at first glance that to believe such power about yourself is arrogant, but that is not the real reason you do not believe it. You prefer to believe that your thoughts cannot exert real influence because you are actually afraid of them. This may allay awareness of the guilt, but at the cost of perceiving the mind as impotent. If you believe that what you think is ineffectual, you may cease to be afraid of it, but you are hardly likely to respect it. There are no idle thoughts. All thinking produces form at some level. Whew. It's a lot of intense information. I feel like on planet Earth, being born on planet Earth, we are taught to control our behavior, but we are not taught to control our thoughts. I mean, I kind of feel like we're taught that our thoughts don't really matter. But A Course in Miracles reiterates again and again and again that every single thought we think has real effect in the world and way more powerful than we have been led to believe. And it's saying something kind of radical here. It's saying, hey, You know what? Don't even try to control your behavior. Just knock it off. Don't try to control your behavior unless it's clear that your behavior is going to do harm. Then okay, there's a reason in that instance to stop the behavior, so you're protecting harm from happening. But it's saying, hey, your attention and your effort should all be focused on your thoughts, not your behavior. And the fruits of this habit will be that the behavior is beautiful because they're springing from beautiful thoughts. And A Course in Miracles is teaching us that every thought we think should be filled to the brim with love. How many of us do that? How many of us have every single thought filled to the brim with love for ourselves and love for everyone and everything? It's kind of a foreign idea. All right. Enough of me talking. The lesson for today is lesson 14. The idea is God did not create a meaningless world. The idea for today, of course, the reason why a meaningless world is impossible. What God did not create does not exist, and everything that does exist exists as she created it. The world you see has nothing to do with reality. It is of your own making and does not exist. The exercises for today are to be practiced with eyes closed throughout. The mind-searching period should be short, a minute at most. Do not have more than 3 practice periods with today's idea unless you find them comfortable. If you do, it will be because you really understand what they are for. The idea for today is another step in learning to let go the thoughts that you have written on the world and see the Word of God in their place. The early steps in this exchange, which can truly be called salvation, can be quite difficult and even quite painful. Some of them will lead you directly into fear. You will not be left there. You will go far beyond it. Our direction is toward perfect safety and perfect peace. With eyes closed, think of all the horrors in the world that cross your mind. Name each one as it occurs to you, and then deny its reality. God did not create it, and so it is not real. Say, for example, God did not create that war, so it is not real. God did not create that airplane crash, so it is not real. God did not create that disaster. Specify. And so it is not real. Suitable subjects for the application of today's idea also include anything you are afraid might happen to you or to anyone about whom you are concerned. In each case, name the disaster quite specifically. Do not use general terms. For example, do not say, God did not create illness, but God did not create cancer or heart attacks or whatever may arouse fear in you. It is your personal repertory of horrors at which you are looking. These things are part of the world you see. Some of them are shared illusions, and others are part of your personal hell. It does not matter. What God did not create can only be in your own mind apart from hers. Therefore, it has no meaning. In recognition of this fact, conclude the practice periods by repeating today's idea. God did not create a meaningless world. The idea for today can, of course, be applied to anything that disturbs you during the day, aside from the practice periods. Be very specific in applying it. Say, God did not create a meaningless world. She did not create. Specify the situation which is disturbing you. And so it is not real. All right. Once again, the idea for today. God did not create a meaningless world. Again, these are radical ideas. A A Course in Miracles describes what we think of reality as being a dream, how parts of that dream are a shared dream, as in when disasters happen and many people are experiencing them, whether they're in them and experiencing loss and pain and death, or whether they're outside of them and witnessing it. And then there's other parts of the illusion that are very personal, that only happen inside of your own mind. And A Course in Miracles is saying all of these things are created by thoughts. That if every soul only thought with love, those things would not be part of the illusion that we're experiencing. Radical stuff. All right. Happy practicing. I'll talk at you next time. Bye.